All right, phones away. No push out. I don't get sick.
Sounds like you're sick.
I'll tell you what, if you don't want to hear me talk like this, that's fine. A brother's going to lecture this way. All right, ready for this one?
Charles Spearman, psychometric approach, student of booze, two-factor theory of intelligence, using factor analysis.
Here's the question we got. I think we've learned from our consciousness unit, you cannot multitask. You can't think of two things at once. You can't divide your mind. And I think Wundt actually showed you cannot think about thinking and still think the way you would have thought had you not been thinking about thinking. Yeah, I know. That's why introspection didn't work. So if we can't divide the mind, can we divide intelligence into categories? I think we have this vague idea that maybe there's different ways to be smart instead of just are you smart or not. But we're going to find the problems. If you kind of say intelligence is one monolithic thing, that's great. That's easy to work with. But maybe it has some downfall. If you say, no, there's different types of intelligence, that's great. But that has some problems because if you have 43 different types of intelligence, how are you going to measure it? How are you going to translate it? How are you going to talk about it? So let's jump into this a little bit. Let's trace some of the theories that have kind of led us to where we are. We've talked about David Wechsler. He took Binet's idea. He took Binet's idea of the ratio IQ, and he said there's a problem with it. The problem is it's too verbal. By the way, the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale is probably the most famous, the most well-used IQ test. Millions of people take it every year. The question you have to ask yourself is why? Why do you want to know your IQ score? Wechsler wanted to take it away from verbal. Maybe he has puzzles. Maybe he has pictures. Maybe he has stuff that's not dependent, because look, young children are going to struggle because they don't have language skills. Immigrants are going to struggle because they have language skills. Now, some people who were not born in this country speak English fine. That's true. But I believe it takes 7 years of total immersion to become perfectly fluent. That's a wild thing. So if you're going to take an IQ test in a different language, you would have been in that country 1, 2, 3, 4 years, but you are going to face a confounding variable there. We talked about performance. It's not verbal, it's performance. And you also want to steer away from cultural bias. Many of you all are a lot younger than I am. And you know what? I'm only 26, so that's got to make you something. I don't know what it is. I hear someone in disgust, and that hurts. I moisturize well. So here we go. If a Betamax is blinking at 7:05, what time did the power go out? You're like, what? What's a Betamax? It shows you that you're not. Kevin, go ahead.
Isn't like one of the really old things that they used to like put like cassettes or whatever in, and you can use it to record TV shows?
What's bothering me is the disgust you have. You know one of those old things that have cassettes? Yeah, it's the precursor to a VHS, actually. Beta and VHS, much like Neanderthal man and modern Homo sapien were alive at the same time, and VHS won the technology war. Let me ask you this. How many of y'all still use the phrase, roll up the window, even when you have power windows? All right. Betamax, old school VHS. I put that in there for a reason because many of y'all struggle. If you don't know, if you weren't born in a certain decade, you're not going to know what a Betamax is. Okay, so now let's say it's a DVR, your alarm clock, some kind of flashing display. If the Betamax is blinking at 7:05, what time did the power go out? It's a trick question. You don't know what time the power went out. Power went out 4 years ago. What time did the power go on? 7 hours and 5 minutes ago. Is that like, oh, that's not fair. You tricked me. Right? One of the big names in psychology, in cognitive psychology and intelligence testing, Charles Spearman. Spearman had a two-factor. So now we got an interesting idea. Maybe it's not reducible down to one ratio IQ. Maybe it's not reducible down to one deviant IQ test. What we're looking at is he got two parts. Now let's take a quick break right now. Once you write that down, slam your pens down in teenage frustration. Just like, I hate the world. Mom doesn't understand me. She put crust on my sandwich. Stupid moms. So why don't we do this then? How many things do you think are involved in intelligence? How many of y'all say math? Okay, but you got to define math. Are we taking computational ability? That's not enough. Clever Hans could paw the ground with his hoof. 2 plus 2, he'd do 4. A parrot, 3 plus 3, parrot's going to say 6. They don't understand it. So are we talking computational? Are we talking conceptual? Addition, subtraction? I don't even know. There's probably other things in math. I stopped math. Never got no one nowhere. So the reality is there's a couple of things. If we have that there are 50, 100, 500 factors that go into making an intelligence score, what Spearman's trying to do is he's trying to take all of those things, for lack of a better word, imagine a machine. Imagine a machine, it's a statistical equation. You shove in a lot of variables, and through some pressing some buttons, doing some addition, you come out with a number. Something that takes all of these factors and use factoring analysis. Spearman's going to take all of these things, these data, this variable, you're going to shove them into a machine, and it's going to poop out a number. That is what we're talking about. And you know what we're going to come up with? We're going to come up with a general mental ability. It's kind of like IQ. In many ways, this is amazing. When you get to stats, it's factor analysis a little bit beyond our class right now. When you get to some advanced statistical techniques, you can take some pretty cool stuff. Maybe take the census data. Maybe take a bunch of surveys, crunch the numbers, and come out with some useful information. So factor analysis takes a lot of stuff, chops it up, boils it down, cooks it up, and it brings us to G. Now Spearman's also going to say there's something called, this is different than special intelligence, is called S. You got G and S. G is most like, IQ, your intellectual ability. One of the things we might want to look at is a metaphor or parallel between brain and IQ. If you look at the brain, is the brain localized? Meaning, do you have a sneezing part of your brain? You actually do, because sneezing is simple. Sneezing is a weird thing. Nothing in the brain, very few things in the brain are contained by themselves. They're attached to other things. Is it possible that some people, when they sneeze once, have to sneeze 7 more times? All right. I don't know that I've been training myself. I have been. I have. You're laughing. I want to keep my eyes open when I sneeze to see what happens. You think your eyes will pop out like a cartoon character? All right, what if my eye's hanging down by an optic nerve just on my cheek? Why? I would never trip. I was looking, I could see the floor. Swing my head, my eyeballs all flopping back and forth. All right, go ahead. All right, time out. I haven't even answered your question. All right, going back to the idea. Well, can I answer the first one first? I got distracted by flopping eyeballs. All right, then. Anyway, so here, the idea is this. Is it possible that if there's a person out of 7 or 6 billion people in the world, there's one person that once they sneeze, for some reason or other, their brain is wired or miswired, they got to sneeze 8 extra times? Sure. Okay. Is it neurologically driven? Well, if you're a biologist, you're going to say everything in the universe is neurologically driven, including intelligence. Is your question having to do with sneezing or popping out eyes? Sure, why not? Go ahead.
When you have to sneeze, do you why do some people tell me to look up into the light and stuff like that I have to sneeze?
You don't really know, do you? It's a religious symbol. When you sneeze, it's your soul trying to escape. And that's why people say, God bless you. It pushes your soul back in your nose. Can we move on, please? All right, going back to this intelligence idea, for crying out loud. Look, the question we have to ask is like the brain. If you have real simple things like eye blink, sneezing, cough, reflex, they're going to be localized in the brain. When we talk about emotion spread out over the whole brain, memory spread out over the whole brain. So how do we define intelligence? We're going to say intelligence is something so small, like blinking. If that's the case, maybe we can reduce it to one small little concept. If we're saying intelligence is really big, then it's going to be hard to measure. So what do we want? Do we want data that's easily measurable, or do we want an idea that's comprehensive? Because the two things are hard to have at the same time. Lewis Thurston disagreed with Spearman. He said, you know what, it's not reducible down to 1G. It's too simplistic. let's look at some other things that go into this. Don't write down all of Thurston's ideas. Okay, we're going to get to these a little bit later when we start to divide up intelligence into different categories. But you can see the idea that, well, maybe there are kids who are really good in math, all right, but not so like goodly in English and stuff. All right, so the idea of spatial visualization, we're going to talk about the fellows who do nothing but play video games. Is that because their brain is good at spatial visualization? Or is it because they have nothing better to do? Well, we'll talk about that. So who's right, Thurston or Spearman? You know psychology. What do you think the answer is going to be? Both. Yes. So of course you get both. Okay? There is general intelligence. Most psychologists, most cognitive psychologists are going to agree there is something called G, or IQ. And there is also going to be primary abilities that might exist separate of your general IQ, or that make up your general IQ. It depends on how you conceptualize it. So today maybe we're going to look at Einstein. We're going to look at LeBron, Shakespeare, Mozart. They are geniuses in their own domain. Does that mean they're geniuses across the board? So Cattell. Raymond Cattell's got two kinds of G. All right? For those who are thugs, straight G, G light. All right. Really want to talk about Cattell. Cattell's got fluid intelligence, and he's got crystallized. And we're going to talk about that in a sec, but as we do, let's talk about your nana, your pop, grandma, or even mom. If you've ever tried to teach nana and pop how to text, did it work out well? Wow, so they're off and running. How many of y'all have ever tried to teach your grandma something technologically and it just doesn't work? Okay. Is that because she's dumb? Well, you know what? Who said yeah? Whoa! You don't want to throw grandma under the bus, literally or figuratively, because the cops won't like that. What we do want to say is, why doesn't she pick up new things as well? Well, fluid intelligence. Next to fluid intelligence, we call reasoning, problem solving, kind of a flexible type of intelligence. I want you to draw a mirror. Can you? How do you draw a mirror? For some of you, I won't say, well, it's going to be a joke. All right, by the way, what color is a mirror? Green. Why green? Google it. Oh, you think it's random? Have you ever gone to purple.com? Who else has got their phone fooling around right now? Go to purple.com. Okay, time out. Did you just say purple.com is stupid? What do you think it was going to be? I've seen kids go to green.com and the person next to me says, no, I want it. Jealousy. All right, so go ahead.
Since this generation is so technologically based, do you think that we won't be like our grandparents, where it won't be as hard for us to learn the new technology?
That's presuming the new technology is the same type, but just increases. I'm willing to bet technology will morph and be a different type of technology. We can't anticipate it. So, I mean, look, if you now come out with Internet 2.0 or 3.0, and it's just a little faster, it's the same kind of thing, we'll have no problem. Okay, but what if we then start to have a completely different type of way of communicating or thinking? Here's the problem. So, when we say fluid intelligence, okay, versus crystallized intelligence, crystallized intelligence is more based on knowledge, using the knowledge you have to solve a problem. So you can kind of divide this. Fluid intelligence, youth; crystallized intelligence, older. So your parents might be a little bit slower than you, but they make up with it, they make up for it because they have what's called crystallized intelligence. They've got a bunch of knowledge they've already used before. Wait for it. There we go. Crystallized intelligence. When you finish writing crystallized intelligence, why don't you go ahead and look at Guilford's model? That's some impressive stuff right here. All right, my man's got contents, which is, I guess, stuff you know, operations, things you do, and he's got, like, so let's look at the third dimension of this. This stuff's impressive. And then you have products. So you got visual contents, but you could have what's called a convergent production or evaluate. What the what, man? 120 types of intelligence? And then each type you might be better in than less. You can see where the more types of intelligence you have, the harder it is to use. If we're going to use intelligence as a tool to help people, well, then we want an easy-to-use tool. But if we have a real easy-to-use tool like a shovel, it's not that useful. You ever try to fix a computer or cook dinner with a shovel? It doesn't work. So we want a flexible tool, but if it's flexible, it's not simple. You're going to have to know Robert Sternberg has a triarchical theory of intelligence. Why do we need to know that? Or an easy way to remember that? Sternberg. Robert Sternberg has 3 E's in his name. He's got 3 R's in his name. Maybe that's going to help you remember the 3-level or the triarchical theory. One of the reasons we like Sternberg's ideas is because you got to analyze. If we look at the folks on the videos we've seen, the folks who have ASD, autism spectrum disorder, and have savant-like abilities, yeah, they know a lot of crap. But can they analyze? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's look at a computer. A computer knows stuff, and it can analyze. See? All right. If a computer knows stuff and can analyze, a computer can't be creative. Maybe that's the definition of humanity, to be creative. And that's why arts and humanities are much more important than just learning facts. All your English teachers and arts teachers will say yes. All your science and STEM teachers will go, that's stupid. Practical. If you look at the smartest person in this school, the smartest kid in your class, how are they using their intelligence? Are they? Is their life better? Now, many of you are like, well, yeah, they got a high GPA. Does a high GPA make people happy? Got to know Gardner. Got to know Howard Gardner. Some of the other names, Sternberg, you got to know. Raymond Cattell, I'm not sure. You got to know the name. You got to know the idea. You got to know Gardner's idea. And maybe, have you ever heard of multiple intelligences? Gardner's one of, there are people in a particular scientific discipline. Psychology is good at this, where you got someone who is an expert in their field, but they cross from scholastic or academic fame into real life fame. Daniel Goleman, Paul Ekman, Zimbardo. Gardner's one of these. Yeah, he is a psychologist, but you know what? He's also transitioned. It's like a country star transitions into pop. What's up, Taylor Smith? Okay, so more people know about him. What are we talking about? A lot of folks know Gardner, especially elementary school teachers, and teachers in general. The week in August before you guys go back to school, teachers are already in school, just watching their soul slowly erode away because they're in a week of meetings, 8 hours a day, nothing but meetings. And I'm telling you, every single August, someone brings out kind of a reevaluation of Gardner. And they say, children are special. All children want to learn. The question is, how do we teach them? And so here's the phrase. It's not how smart a kid is. It's how is a kid smart? And all the teachers, yeah. You ever seen elementary school teachers? You know them. Here's why. Elementary school teachers always have a canvas tote bag. Okay? They always wear capri pants. All right? And they always have their key and ID badge around their neck. That's a fact. That's the uniform for elementary school teachers. All right? I dare you. Don't do this. Don't sit in a parking lot with binoculars. All right? Because the cops will come quick. But if you look at the binoculars of a parking lot of an elementary school teacher, that's the uniform. You know it's true. And watch the 4th grade teacher try to unlock the door with the key around her neck. She doesn't take it off. She goes like this. Very awkward. All right. So, is Mozart smarter than Shakespeare or Einstein or LeBron? So, what do we value? They say Mozart wasn't smart. He was just creative. What is the definition of intelligence? We like to think Einstein. Einstein's the classic thing because we somehow as a society think math is more important than athletic ability. Einstein's brain was bigger than the person of his size. His brain was about 10% bigger for someone with the same skeleton as him. Now, if therefore he had more neural connections, does LeBron have more neural connections than the rest of us in a specific area? I would think so. Everything is neurological. Shakespeare, provided he didn't steal stuff. So what the heck are we talking about? By the way, what is never mentioned? That's how hard these people work. Most of the time, intelligence can act together, but according to Gardner, they can act independently. Let's not write all this junk down. If you want to, that's fine. Linguistic intelligence, before you say, that makes sense. Some people who are good at writing essays, they can't solve an equation to save their life. When we say linguistic, are we saying can you find the theme in the poem? Or are we saying you can learn another language faster? What are we talking about? Spatial intelligence. This is where little boys might be crucially good at video games. Do boys play video games more because of culture, meaning that the video game manufacturers market video games to boys? Is there a girl-based video game? What is it? Okay. Is there only one of them? All right. Have you ever gone to like Target or Walmart or Toys R Us? By the way, you shouldn't because you're teenagers. It's embarrassing. But if you go to Toys R Us, just saying, it's going like. When is it appropriate to stop going to Toys R Us and drinking Capri Suns? Never. Okay, fair enough. So check this out. Look at how many Legos there are that are in the blue package, and they got a new thing for girls: pink Lego Friends. I didn't say it's fair. I don't say it's good. I'm not saying that the Lego Corporation isn't perpetuating a gender stereotype and putting people into categories. I think they are. But same with video game manufacturers. But here's why I'm bringing this up. There is a small but reliable difference in male and female spatial awareness. Men and women have been consistently, over and over, same IQ, same IQ, same IQ. One of the very small differences is that men seem to have a better idea of where things are in the world. You should see my wife parallel park. It takes her about 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, honey, I'm going to be back. All right? Every now and then, I'm driving, we're going on a family trip. Shut up and be quieter in the back seat. All right? And then I ask my wife, honey, I'm lost. Can you look at the map? She's got her sub in her mouth, Subway juice dripping all over her lap. And she's like, I can't read the map. Now, am I looking because I found one data point? She's female, and she can't read a map. Am I like, well, it's an interesting question. How many women in this class have trouble reading maps? Which side? I follow the car in front of me. They look like they know where they're going. So, please do not take this as like, oh my gosh, men play video games because they have an idea of where the little character is in the world. Not necessarily. Very, very small. Worth mentioning because it's one of the only differences you can find between male and female intelligence. Except maybe females, maybe, just maybe. Actually, there's some evidence to say that females have better what's called emotional intelligence. We talk about emotional intelligence, interpersonal intelligence. Remember Daniel Goleman? EQ? No. Okay, whatever. We watched a video on him. He said emotional health, emotional intelligence. Generally, women might have better emotional intelligence. Their brains in the emotional part are wired differently than males. Speaking of which, autism. One theory of autism is that autism is an explosion of male intelligence. You have a lot of wiring, a lot of specific intelligence in one area, but the other parts of the brain don't talk to the other parts of the brain. That's a theory. Intrapersonal. When you're mad, do you know what to do with it? Do you know why you're mad? Oftentimes, people who are struggling with maybe a disease, a disorder, they're going through a hard time, they cannot critically look at themselves and say, this is why I'm mad. This is what I should do. This one takes a lot of people by surprise, spiritual. If you have someone that's very, I'm not saying blindly follows their religion to the letter, to the T. I'm talking about you got someone that says they feel God. They're in contact with their spirit. They're not just an individual. Is that a type of intelligence? A lot of people don't see that coming because we want to separate academia for spirituality. Schools and religion shouldn't mix. Gardner says, why should we separate them? And musical intelligence. Got it? Good. How much time we got? Why don't we do this? We're going to stop right here. That's how you lose your soul. Falling asleep in my class.